All right, welcome to episode 3 of Poddy Training. Today we're going to be going over principles 17, 18 of Training Ground, and actually talking about not just what a principle is, but what are we trying to do with this set of principles for Training Ground.
That's not principle, it's called a principle.
Pardon?
It's not, well, she was talking about principle, it's not like the school principle. It's like the meaning of principle.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's what are we doing with these principles? What's the purpose? What's the question? I think the best way to put it is, what question are we trying to answer with these 20 sets of principles or 20 principles? So the reason that we have these 20 principles is because we asked ourselves, what do people actually need to know to be an independent gym goer? So our mission to nurture individuals and communities through informed actions. In order to create the independence that we want, we have to answer, like, how do you become an independent gym goer? So that's really what these are. These are the things that we believe are most important for gym members to know so they can have a lifetime of fitness and independence and so on. Anything you guys want to add to that?
No, let's crack on. What's number 18?
Number 18, be coachable. Have you ever met a client that's not as coachable? What's the difference between a client who's coachable and a client who's less coachable, for example?
Like everything is on a spectrum. So you've got people who are just, you can mold from putty, basically, and shape them into whatever you want to shape them into, all the way to someone who's as hard as a diamond. And probably that's a good analogy for me. Have I ever come across these diamond-like people? Of course, all the time. We've been doing this for what?
Combined
12 years, 20?
Combined 20 plus years. Combined, how many years? Plus 5.
Yeah,
close to 30 years of wisdom right here.
Well, I wouldn't say wisdom, I'd say experience. Yeah, definitely come across plenty. And it's quite funny because, like, you'll have people who are unaware how uncoachable or how difficult they are to coach. People who are aware and not willing to change. People who are aware, willing to change, but don't quite have the tools yet, or don't have the awareness to be so. All the way to just an empty cup that you can just fill as you want.
I think in lieu of, like, what's our job as coaches or as a gym, Training Ground, like, we want people to be coachable. Okay, no one's going to disagree with that. Certainly no coach or gym owner. What do we do to help people to be coachable? I think it's not necessarily intuitive for someone to know what it's even like to be coached. I think that's one thing that is true. They don't know how they're going to be communicated with necessarily. And even if they do have an idea or a concept of what that looks like, they may have not actually experienced it. So we have to really set the expectations. So part of what we want to do, so these are principles, the things that we want you to know, but also has to be reflected back in what do we do at Training Ground to help our members and new people to be coachable. And in that first, let's say, 12 weeks of their journey, this is something that we want to talk to them about. I'm going to come to you in class and I'm going to maybe ask you to stop, and I'm going to give you something else to do. I'm going to ask you how it feels or what your intentions are. I'm not trying to test them or expose them, because sometimes you'll when you ask people questions, actually just in general, questions and make people uncomfortable, a lot of times they feel like they're being challenged. What are you doing means, oh, you think I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's like interrogation.
Yeah, but it's not. And so I think framing that, I'm a coach, you're a client, I'm here to help. So they have to have that trust, first of all, and then just letting them know that this is going to happen. And then also how they can yield the most out of that relationship too, I think, because at the end of the day, clients and customers, they want to know, like, how can we make this work? Any kind of relationship. How can I make this marriage work? How can I make this friendship better? How can I make this coach to customer relationship better? Because I want to extract as much value as I can. So I think on us to tell them, but I think when you as a customer come in and you know things about yourself, so that kind of foundation of being aware as well.
That was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Awareness.
Yes, I think that is the, when did you last train this movement? What are you capable of doing with this movement? What are your intentions for the day? Do you have any feelings? Like how do you feel today? Do you have any feelings? But when we gather that information as coaches, if I know what your intentions are, either for today, a mini goal, or your overarching goals, intrinsic or extrinsic, and you know when you've done that movement and the awareness, maybe I'm aware of how well you move, your mobility and things like that. That creates a scenario of being really coachable. Mm-hmm. So we have to help our customers to understand themselves. And understand what they need to know to help us to do our job. Help us help you. Yes.
So the combination of, say, physical awareness of your own abilities, restrictions, maybe your experience or level.
Yep.
And then just awareness of all things that are feeling, emotional, mental, goals as well.
Yeah.
That's that marriage where we combine. Well, if you share that awareness with us, then we can better coach you, and then yourself become a little bit more coachable.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you think you're coachable, or when you take it back to your?
I was going to say, so I've had my first coach since school. So so all of my CrossFit life, I've never actually had a full-time coach. I'm self-coached with my training partner. So my tennis coach for the last 2 years is the first coach I've had in decades. It's fun. So I find that I'm asking more of him, dude, can we do more drills? So, but I'm a little bit weird. So I like training for the sake of training, for the sake of just trying to get better. What I just want to do. So I'm happy to drill. I'm happy to break down movements or little certain sections of the thing that I'm doing and repeat it over and over and over again. Because I care more about efficiency and technique rather than the execution or the outcome of that movement. So I do want to have a really pretty serve, but being efficient and technically well result in that. So yeah, I'm usually the one just telling you, I think I'm struggling with this part. What do I need to do? I'll just figure stuff out.
Oh, that's great. That's like music to my ears.
He pushes me to compete more than actually train. And I'm like, I want to train. I don't want to compete.
There's a lot of roles for the coach. A lot of hats to wear. Yeah, you think you're difficult?
It's because I just want to do this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you go do that.
I was a little shit. I was I was a tough client, a tough person to coach, I think.
Golf days or?
I was very self-taught in a lot of things, and I think I just had a hard time kind of getting on the same wave. That's how I felt. I mean,
because I'm looking at your notes.
Yeah.
Give you a framework, but don't tell you what to do.
Yeah, I think as a kid, I used to kind of buck a little bit against being told exactly what to do. A little bit of authority, maybe that, but I really thrived if it was there's the framework in which we're going to operate, and that would be a lot more relatable for me. But I have I had a lot of great coaches. Gary Bernard as a kid, he was a golf coach I had, and he was really framework heavy and talked a lot about the mental aspects. I had a great middle school basketball coach, Mike Maxwell, and he was such a great team motivator. There was one time I just completely yelled, it was in a timeout, and he was telling me to do something or give me some hard feedback, and I just yeah, and I just totally had to take me out of the game. And I was this little shit. College with Bruce, yeah. I was, and then I sharpened up and I became a more coachable person. I learned from those things, but it didn't come I wasn't just a soldier that just kind of stood there and got and a good sort of example that way. My college coach, it took me a long time. My college golf coach, that's that.
I was asking her what about him.
Yeah,
Finish his
yeah.
story.
That's weird. But my college coach was Bruce Brockbang, my college golf coach, and he almost kicked me off the team at one point because we were just not on the same page. And then we had a breakthrough where we openly communicated and kind of were able to help each other understand each other. And from that point forward, we had a thriving sort of coach relationship. I guess the point is that it's like you can, hopefully if you have a good coach, the coach is open to talking about how to explore to make it better. And it's no different. Like, even though, yeah, you're paying clients and it's a career, it's a bit different than kind of coaches maybe that we're referencing to. We still want that kind of impact. So at the end of the day, it's on the coach's responsibility, on the gym to be able to go to those people and be like, let's make this better. Like, am I giving you the help that you need? Yeah. Now your
Keep
turn.
looking at me.
What's your experience with coaches?
Be myself, I am probably too self-aware for my own good. Like, flip to the other side. Like, I know that I'll be like drilling, let's go to jiu-jitsu, for example, we're drilling something. I'm like, I don't think this feels right. So I'll be like, coach, and they're probably just like, oh my God, can you just watch whilst I do this, please? Like, when I had a PT, when I was doing like strength and conditioning, I would just ask loads of questions. I'm curious and inquisitive, self-study. I can get really into something and start reading, learning. But yeah, Dan, so the guy who's from New Brunswick, I ended up living with him during COVID and his missus, and I'd be like, wait, I'll never forget how you used to just ask me questions all the time. And I'm like, fuck this girl. I was like, yeah, that shows how much I care and I want to understand.
I love clients and members that do that. That's amazing. Because that's easy to give value. Just answer the questions.
Yeah. And then he was like, it was good because sometimes you ask me questions that I didn't know, and it made me read into it and then come back to our next session and go through it with you. So yeah, I'm coachable.
It helps coaches a lot too. I mean, that's one of the things that we tell our team to do. Like, if you don't, sometimes you're watching someone, the truth is, you're kind of like, I'm not exactly sure what I ought to be telling you. I gave you the same cue for the last 3 months. Ask a question. Like, ask a question to the client themselves, to the member, and then you can learn about, again, what are your intentions? What are you trying to get done today?
Fake hand just went. Oh, but then also people receive feedback very differently.
Correct.
Some people maybe need to be practical and do it and get it wrong over and over.
Like you want eyes on to come up with what I'm doing, whereas other people get really self-conscious, like because you're just looking at how they're moving and like
the amount of times I'll be walking by and someone's like getting ready for a lift, and then I just see them go. And they're like, no, don't watch me. I don't want to be judged.
And things we're not judging, and I get it though. I mean, first tee jitters, right? So
first tee jitters, yeah.
The golfing reference. But like when all eyes are on you, and it's just first shot of the day, first lift of the day, and then head coach walks along by, one button, pop her up. Who would?
An image now.
But it's not a pass-fail thing. That's the other thing. We're not grading you of like you're good, you're bad. I think sometimes a customer might be thinking like, this is my chance to get a good grade. And I guess you can get the good feedback. But at the end of the day, you should want to get better. We want to get better.
Makes life easier.
Makes life easier. People don't receive feedback the same though. That is another, at the end of the day, coaching, you need to understand how that person needs to be communicated with, what they're comfortable with. Some people are like, keep your ass down on the first ball. Other people, you may have to be like, is it okay if I give you some feedback? Which sounds a bit silly, but for someone who's typically less coachable, the diamond, I would usually ask them a question about what they're doing, and then, mind if I give you a little bit of feedback? And it's hard to say no to that because then they're kind of shining the light on their own inability to be coached, and they usually kind of soften. And you can crack open that conversation a little bit. Yes, if you want success in the gym, you want longevity, you need to be coachable. Yeah,
definitely. It's a little bit of awareness. Sometimes a little bit of humility.
for sure.
Yes. Hold that thought.
Mm.
So we do word of the week at Gracie Barha for the kids' classes. This week it's courage. So I'm thinking, I'll give an example of courage because we put it on some colourful slides that we put in the screen in reception. And one of them was admitting when you don't, when you're unsure. That's courage, like being able to put your hand up, like, I'm not sure. Can you just show me again? So it takes courage to admit, to be humble, to leave your ego at the door.
It's really difficult. Really, really, really difficult. Especially like if you've been exercising or an athlete all your life, and you come into say a gym like this, and you've never really trained like this before. Like, to be honest, like your movement history is quite long, but your actual exercise training in this modality might not be. And it's okay. To be honest, I'd much rather coach a noob than say come across one of us who's got some movement patterns that are pretty well established and trying to change, make a small change on that.
Yeah,
I'd hate to be like Tiger's sweet coach,
especially now with all the bolts and pins in his body. He is British Open this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think humility is kind of at the foundation almost of literally every positive attribute. Like without humility, you're gonna have a hard time. Yeah, you won't have courage. You won't be able to have. You can't build awareness without humility. You can't have courage without humility. Not real courage, anyway. It's a good word of the week. Yeah. You're welcome.
I love posting my shitty tennis videos, and I know form's crap, but it's just right. I know that I'm at this stage of my training career for tennis anyway. And it's nice to look back, like even like 3 months ago, and just like, okay, I suck a lot less than that. So, and it just keeps you a little bit more honest as well.
Yeah, I think to be coachable, because we talked about having patience and awareness, but maybe humility it's right there with it. If you don't have humility, you're probably not going to necessarily be patient with yourself. There's not really a need to be aware. I already know it. Yeah.
Yeah. It runs parallel with self-awareness.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of patience, I had a client, he's 83, and he had hip surgery at the start of the year, and he expected to be walking normally within 2 months. That came. It's like what? Like he had a hip replacement, so that you know what? Yeah. And it's just, I think the timeline of people's expectations to be able to do something, get something, especially if you look up to say someone, either a professional or someone who's really good at doing stuff in the gym, that the timeline it takes to be able to acquire that skill, that strength, that whatever, takes a lot longer than you probably realize. And if it doesn't take you that long, you're the exception, not the rule. So my point is, usually when I talk to my clients, when they give me a skill acquisition goal, I multiply it by 3. So it's like, oh, in 2 months I want to be able to do handstand pull. It's like, okay, let's talk about a 6-month plan rather than a 2-month plan. And like, if you're still into it, actually, if you're still bought into it, it's a legitimate goal. Say, I'll guarantee you get in 6 months' time, so we'll get you walking on your hands, for example. Then it's a legit goal. But if you just think it's something cool to do, it's like, oh, 6 months, you're not willing to invest 6 months into acquiring this skill, then it's like you probably didn't really want it in the first place. It just looked cool. little bit of patience.
That segues nicely into principle number 17. Run your own race.
Right, I'm going.
Right.
Me, run, are you kidding?
Run your own race. Yeah. So why is this a principle? Why is this so important? Why do we want this? Why do we want all of our members to know this when they're starting out?
Because comparison is the thing of joy.
Yes, really is.
Even though we are a gym that encourages participation in sports, in competitions. We're talking about joining High Rocks
Mhm.
Hong Kong. Put your hand up. Why do you want to go to High Rocks Hong Kong?
I feel like I need a goal. I need some sort of target. I think that's the really thing I'm kind of fluttering about. I think all the meaningful stuff kind of straddles these paradoxes: run your own race versus make sure you have a goal and play, which implies some element of competition.
Did you have any thoughts on like, okay, you'd be in Masters Division for this, like where you might actually finish at all?
No,
At all?
this is more for just, I want a purpose in my day-to-day training. Yeah. I want to be able to run my own race, whereas right now I'm not running my own race. I'll walk into the gym and I'll be like, what's going on? See a little bit of this, see a little bit of that. I might be running my race, but it's like this. There's no clear direction that I'm going to.
Both sessions.
Yeah. It's akin to like, I'm going to go for a morning jog. Where are you going? I don't know. Nothing wrong with that. I'm still running my own race. But we do know from a lot of years of experience that people who know where they're at, first of all. So I think we start with that awareness, where you're at, and then where you want to go. Then you can plot a nice straight path. If you don't know where you're at, if you don't have the awareness, you have a map and just may have a destination, but you have no clue where you're at. You will find your way eventually there, but it's going to be a really difficult path, and you're going to have to ask a lot of people on the way. And I think that's a couple different, the end point and the beginning point of where you are, where you want to go, allows people to stay consistent and have that sort of motivation. But running your own race, I think, is about having confidence, actually. I think more than anything. I think people who, maybe not my case necessarily, although there's been a real blow to my own confidence just from having injuries and things like that. I think those who, if you don't really have confidence that you're aware of what you're doing, and you don't have that foundation of good fundamentals, and you don't trust your own humility and patience, like you have maybe awareness that you don't have that, then it's like you've been given this job, this responsibility. Okay, go ahead and take care of your body. And you're like, I don't know if I have the skills and ability to do that, which is why when you come in the gym, why we say you need to be humble and patient, because this road requires that. And then you really need to work on your awareness so you can master some fundamentals. Once you've got that, okay, now you feel like you got the tools. Now go run your race. Someone has that foundation. It's a lot easier to put the blinds up and be like, let's get to work on my intentions of the day. And then to finish that with having something that you're going towards. So that's my thoughts on running your own race. I think I do like the quote, I don't to paraphrase, but it's I'll probably butcher this. It's a Stoic quote. I believe it's Epictetus. The chief thing to do in life is to be able to differentiate between that which you can control and that which you cannot control. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exceedingly wise. And going into the gym and understanding, I cannot control what you're doing. Don't worry about it. Devil's advocate, though. Sorry to just flip it. Devil's advocate, because you mentioned before competition. When is it useful? Can it be useful to compare yourself to other people? Challenge the run your own race, or yeah.
So I love working on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a full gym or in an empty gym. That's my little happy place. But when I'm working out next to you or next to P, I love to push.
Mhm.
And it's ego thing, or it's
Is it?
a little bit. It's just friendly competition with like someone. Actually, no, like a lot of things you're better than me at, or fitter or stronger, and some things I'm better and fitter than you. And on the balance, it makes it a fun race. Just
Mhm.
like, when, say, for example, the other day, I know for a fact that like you rode out with me
Mhm.
with your eyes closed, but on, say, the pull-up stuff,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
like it was just that back and forth for fun, and we never said anything about finishing first. But we never said anything about. I think we timed our breaks
Mhm.
and our rest between reps the same, and it's just that little bit of push. And we didn't even talk about who finished first. I don't even know who finished first. That doesn't even matter. To get a little bit more intensity out of the workout itself, as opposed to trying to beat you. I don't really care about beating you, but I do know when I work out next to you, I can get more out of that without breaking myself.
I see that as you have a high level of awareness. You're working out with someone else who's got experience, and then you're just strategizing. You're using the environment to strategize to get the most out of your own race. It's not actually about comparing me. It's about using the resources.
I think it's more inspiring.
Mm.
Like you kind of find inspiration.
I'll run my friend. It is my
I do work hard when I work.
when you
But friendly competition's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually enjoy.
So let's help sorry to interrupt, but let's help folks, because a lot of people will be like, should I be watching the guy beside me and trying to race him? Or should I be putting my blinders up? Like, which one what are we saying? And I think can be confusing for someone, because we're saying play, and then we're saying competition is good.
Yeah.
And then we're also saying run your own race.
Run your own race is like you versus you.
Mhm.
Like that James Clear thing of being 1% better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
Being able to look back in like a year's time, 6 months' time, 3 months' time, like, oh, like I was there and now I'm here.
Mhm.
Like I said, I can control me. I can't control
Right.
Mr. Olympia.
So if your goal is to get better than you, then it's not really contradictory to say, you can look at the person beside you. I think we should preface that with you should have awareness and fundamentals first. Because if you do not have awareness, so if a beginner was competing against Yai, just like some Joe just finished their onboarding and did the same thing, we were kind of like gauging each other. I'm trying to get a little bit more, but I'm doing it for me, not because I'm trying to beat you. Same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, this is going to help me get more out of my own race. But if you don't have that foundation of some awareness and some experience, then it's maybe you shouldn't be doing that yet. You should, exactly. It's
you can look at the person who's more seasoned and be like, it'd be great to get there, but
hell yeah.
not be them.
Yeah.
Or or know that it's possible because they started. There's that thing of like every expert was a beginner once.
I think so it's really, you need to know how to get the best results for yourself. And sometimes it's getting inspiration from others, but you also need to run your own race. I mean, I always have liked to compete. If I use examples, even of golf when I was a kid, it helps. So there were guys, I remember their names, Stephen Henson and Nick Watson, these guys that were like, when I was 13, 14, they were so much better than I was. I was obsessed with trying to get as good as these guys. Like I really was measuring myself constantly, but I was young. I wasn't thinking about running my own race and doing these things. I just really was motivated to get better. So when I was practicing, I was, imagining myself competing against them. I was imagining, being on the 18th hole and trying to do those things. Looking back, those are actually good strategies to get the most, to get 1% better each day. Those were, maybe they were ego driven, I'm not sure, but I wasn't even trying to necessarily beat them. I was just using that motivation. And in time I did. right? Sorry, I wasn't trying to. What are the chances that Steve Hansen and Nick Watson are watching this, right? So you can use your surroundings to get the most out of your experience strategically. That's not in contradiction to running your own race, but there are limitations to that. And when you have an injury, like you mentioned, your client coming back from hip replacement, that is not going to be a time where they're like, maybe, I don't know, they look at someone looking up what's the fastest time to ever recover from a hip replacement? What did they do? All right, I'm doing that. Is that good? Is that bad?
It's that unreasonable expectation for himself there. But I think to answer this question, just like anything in fitness, it depends, right? So you've got to look at it both in terms of where you're sitting at and what really motivates you. Like, am I better off just focusing on today, staying in my lane, acquiring this skill, this strength, this fitness, or today I'm in this type of mode where situationally it better applies to me to race against someone or to have a little bit of competition as well, and yet try and strike that balance, just like inside out. You can feel multiple feelings at once. It's what in a lot of Disney movies today. But it comes back to the awareness, where it depending on the day, the situation, which one do you think is best applicable for the best result for the 1% for the day?
I guess run your race is less of just like a principle itself. There's a few things that go into the ability to be able to run your own race. We keep talking about humility, awareness, so that you can master fundamentals, and then you have choices. Then you're able to kind of apply strategies to get the most out of your race. One strategy is make sure you have something to shoot for. Maybe you can compare, or not compare, but
measure?
Kind of measure, but I mean like have friends to compete with, someone to keep in front of, someone to chase. But it's not about beating them. It's about using your environment to get the most out of your thing. It's a part of it, but at the end of the day, it's still you against you is the ultimate thing that has to sit on top of it all.
Yeah.
If you make it about beating, if we made that about beating you, if I actually try to, if we play that through our workout the other day, if it was really about beating you, how bad would my form on those pull-ups? Oh my God. Like I would have been slipping off the bar. I would have probably hurt my shoulder. I was struggling, man.
Yeah.
So it would not have led me into.
I would have blown myself up on the road, and then it would have messed up with my gloves.
So it was not about beating each other.
And how do you win in bicep curls anyway? Apart from the size
of your arms. Some days.
So they feel my sleeve.
I mean, that's quite constrictive.
What's that? This?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you make them tight on purpose?
They don't make shirts that fit my proportions,
Damn. What a shame. Yeah. My little tiny violin.
Hard to fit a.
That's why you wear vests.
What's that?
That's why you wear vests.
I wear a vest because I have nothing else in my wardrobe. I don't generally wear them. No, I'm a t-shirt guy.
We wear the same shirts all the time because it's the clean one on the top of the pile.
Yeah.
So we've got 8 shirts in rotation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's only because of convenience in the dark morning.
If I think it matches, which is 50-50, if it matches, I'll wear it. This one, black matches everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Check.
Fashion
yeah.
Don't accept them.
I think and we mentioned maybe this in the other Poddies. We talked about the 10-minute onboarding thing to help us kind of form some of these principles. This thought experiment of you have 10 minutes to onboard someone for a lifetime of fitness. And what would you tell them? Yeah. That's your only coaching session. You're never going to see this person again. And your job is to get them ready for a lifetime of fitness. What are you going to send them off with? And a lot of and then that's one part of the thought experiment for these principles. And then the other one is at 90 days or 12 weeks, what 20 things, for example, are the most important for them to understand if your goal is for them to be like an independent exerciser who can head out for the rest of their lives, take care of themselves responsibly, thrive, live with freedom, joy, all that kind of good stuff. So I think it's worth sharing to our members and our huge swath of fans. Guys, if we're out at a restaurant eating with our families, please, the autographs, they just got to stop.
I've
That's
been
like wearing disguise.
wearing disguise. Yeah, I'm just get out. It's just one of those are going to go viral, and my reputation's going to be killed. But anyway, it's worth. I like to share that that's where these principles are being plucked from. It's basically answering those two questions: 10 minutes to onboard, 12 minutes or 12 weeks for a lifetime of fitness. What do you need to know? Yeah. That's it.
Oh, I thought
You want me to answer it? I can answer.
I was going to say, I'll wrap it up and say Principle 16 next week.
Principle 16
Yep.
coming up. Yeah.
Which is it cooking?
Spoil it.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't spoil it. You guys will find out in a couple of weeks. Or actually in next week. We're doing one a week.
But it's
So
okay,
16 weeks.
2
Fortnightly. That is very un-Canadian of me to say that.
Really?
Every couple of weeks. We just say every 2 weeks. Fortnightly.
I say bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly. Yes, true.
Which could also mean twice a week.
Or every 2 weeks. That's why I don't say it.
This Saturday or next Saturday?
This Saturday.
When we say this upcoming Saturday,
This Saturday.
I say this. Is it this Saturday? Or when's next Saturday?
Saturday after that. This
Okay.
Do you say 10:30?
10?
British thing.
Oh,
Quarter to past, that sort of stuff. It's a very British thing. Aussies do it. And Monday week.
Okay, Monday week.
as in,
Week.
oh,
When I don't do.
the Commonwealth is mashed up.
Canadians we have our own little. Yeah,
Okay.
we're kind of a mix. We got America.
You got
America and
you got
Commonwealth.
You got the Queen on your.
Yeah, we got both.
Yeah.
The best of both.
Ugh,
Or the worst.
greedy.
Best and the worst of both.
That's why you use bi-weekly.
Instead of I do like fortnightly. It sounds so like
Proper?
proper and just old.
Ye old England.
The olden times, each fortnight.
Actually, I might actually have to dust that off voice. Anyway.
Each fortnight ye shall release a poddy.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
It's getting good.
Yeah.
Anyway, right.
All right.
We need to
We're
wrap
going to
this
wrap
up.
this up
See you all next fortnight.
next fortnight for principles number 15 and 16.
Oh, good one.
Thank you.
Laters.